Hello, dear ones. May I ask if you can move towards the front, just to collect our energy, if it's possible. Dear beloved Dartmouth community, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for having us. You can see that we have monastic brothers and sisters from Deer Park Monastery in California, and also from Magnolia Grove Monastery in Mississippi. So we are here, 11 of us. We're here for 1 week. And we're just very honored and grateful to have an opportunity to be here, to interact with the faculty members, the staff, the students. We feel very welcome and supported. So, thank you, dear. To begin my sharing today, I'd like to invite you to just come back to your stable posture. Very interesting chairs. Feel your feet on the ground. Maybe we sit a little bit towards the front so our feet can touch the ground. With our back straight, upright, but relaxed. Our shoulders roll back. Our arms can rest alongside our body. Our hands can hold one another gently, or just simply rest on the lap. We gently come back to the in-breath as it is. Breathing in, I befriend my in-breath. Breathing out, I befriend my out-breath. Hello in-breath, hello out-breath. Breathing in, I befriend my body. Breathing out, I smile to my body. Hello, my dear body. I know you're there, always there for me, even when I'm not aware of you, even when I'm not taking good care of you. You are always loyal, always taking care of me. Thank you, my dear body. Breathing in, I'm aware of the friends around me. Friends I've known for a long time, or maybe I don't know, and yet we are in the same community. breathing out, I smile and feel grateful for the friends and community that I have present for me, supporting me. Thank you for being there. How wonderful it is that I'm never alone. Let us continue to follow our breathing as we listen to 3 sounds of the bell. Breathe with the bell, smile with the bell, and relax our whole body. Dear beloved community, today I'd like to share with you the practice of mindfulness and how it can help us to be sustainable in a changing world, in the midst of suffering, in our individual lives, in our society, and in our world. The Buddha taught about the Four Noble Truths. How many of you have heard about the Four Noble Truths? Oh, many of you. So after the Buddha achieved enlightenment, the very first teaching he offered was on the Four Noble Truths. And the first Noble Truth states that there is suffering. Noble Truths. This is my dream comes true. We got a blackboard, literally a blackboard writing with chalk. Wow. Four Noble Truths. The first one is the acknowledgement that there is suffering. Suffering is present in the world. And nowadays we use the word trauma. So trauma is another word for suffering. Now, many misunderstood the Buddha, and they thought that the teaching is so negative, is so morbid, because you start out saying that there is suffering. But we know that in our world, many of us don't know even when we are suffering. Many of us even in denial of our suffering, right? There is suffering, but we also have a mechanism, a coping mechanism for suffering. And that can be fight, flight, or freeze. That is a coping mechanism. We can have a combination of all three, or one can be more predominant. Fight, many of us have very noble causes, right? We fight for environmental sustainability, and we fight for human rights, for gender rights. We fight for the freedom of certain countries. We fight for peace. Yeah, so we see the suffering and we fight. We want to change it, but it is also a coping mechanism. We need to recognize that. It is also something very instinctual that it depends on our genetic predisposition, our personality, that some of us will instinctively fight when there is a challenge, a difficulty, a hardship. Now some of us, we will adapt the flight response. Another word for flight can be denial, right? We don't want to face the situation. And I heard that the United States is unique in the sense that we are the only country that actually said that climate crisis is a hoax. So this is denial. And I also learned that denial can be an acronym for don't even know I am lying. Okay? So there are those of us, sometimes we need to lie, but we know deep inside we're lying. Now there are also those, the denial is so deep, the flight is so strong that we don't even know we're lying. And that's actually the worst. It's a lot worse. When you lie and you don't even know you're lying, we are in real denial. Or the freeze response. That is when we just shut down. It's too much, it's too overwhelming, and we just don't want to deal with it. We just numb, we separate body and mind. The body functions, but the mind just checks out. And this is true on an individual level when we have certain trauma in our life, whether it took place in childhood or it takes place when we are an adult. And we can have these coping mechanisms very much instilled in our personality, in our way of coping with everything from, and then for our individual personal issue and also for the problem that is more at large, at work, in our community, in our nation, etc. So there is a suffering. Climate crisis is a suffering. But on top of that, our unhealthy, negative coping mechanism is another layer of suffering on top of the suffering. And the Buddha taught that it's like you have one arrow shot into your arm. The first arrow that causes the wound, that's very painful. But if we shoot another arrow into the same wound site, then the pain is not doubled. It becomes exponential. It festers. It cannot heal if we keep shooting arrows into the same wound. So if our coping mechanism is we fight, and we fight all the time in our personal relationships, in our relationships with our colleagues, with others, yeah, then that is the second wound. Or denial, that is a serious wound that we cause, that the wound that will never heal, that is never addressed, right? Or we freeze from within, we are numb. So there is suffering, but our practice is that we simply recognize the presence of something without adding the second arrow to it, whether it is fear, despair, desperation, we simply recognize it. That was why in the beginning I offer a short guided meditation. Breathing in, I befriend my in-breath. Breathing out, I befriend my out-breath. We learn to recognize the breath as it is without saying, that breath is good or is bad, is short or is long. We just recognize it as it is. And that helps us to be able to be neutral. It's a training, it's a mental training. Just like breathing in, I'm aware that I have a body, that there is pain in my joints, there is a cut, there's an abscess, there's something not well in my body. Breathing out, I embrace this wound, this pain, this discomfort. See, that's simple recognition, and then we learn to embrace it, to be present with it, so that we don't fight it, we don't run away from it, we do not shut down. Simple recognition is in itself very healing. We can confront what is without being inundated by it, overwhelmed by it. So let us listen to one sound of the bell. In our Plum Village tradition, we use the sound of the bell, translated as the sounds of the telephone that you have, or the sounds of the siren, bird songs, pleasant sounds, unpleasant sounds. When you hear them, just simply breathe and smile and just relax your whole body. Breathe and smile. Relax our body, and we can relax our thoughts and feelings and strong emotions with the out-breath. The second noble truth, the first noble truth is that suffering is present. We acknowledge it. The second one is that there are causes to the suffering. Now, the Buddha was known as the king of medicine, and I totally agree with this. I studied medicine before I became a nun, and when we see a patient, we take a patient history. The first thing we write on this HPI, history of present illness, first one is chief complaint. right? Chief complaint. I have a cough for the last 3 weeks, last 3 months. I have pain. I couldn't sleep, something. These are chief complaints, right? So that is acknowledgement of suffering. Doctors are the worst. We are the last to go see other doctors. We are in serious denial. All we think we can handle it, right? So we don't go see other doctors until it becomes very bad, very serious. So you see, chief complaint. That's very important to acknowledge that we have certain problems, whether it's physical or mental. Now, causes to suffering. That is when a doctor would ask. So, for example, if I have had a cough for a month, when did it start? Is it worse when you are awake, when you're sleeping? Does it produce sputum? Right? Do you have fever, etc., etc.? Other people in your family have this symptom. We want to rule out TB. We want to rule out COVID nowadays. Yeah? So causes, the Buddha said that there are causes to suffering and we need to look into them. But if we don't acknowledge the presence of suffering or we keep fighting all the time, sometimes we don't look into the causes and we actually compound the problem with our negative, unhealthy coping pattern. Right? So causes of suffering. And we see that another teaching of the Buddha, this is a bean you can actually buy and call a yin-yang bean. Have you seen this bean? Yeah, it has this oblong shape. Half of it is black and half of it is white. And on the black side, there is a white dot. And on the white side, there is a black dot. I really like this blackboard because literally I can say that this is the black side, this is the white side. It's called a yin-yang bean. In the black, there is the white, and in the white, there is the black. This is a teaching on interbeing. So you know Shakespeare used to say, to be or not to be, that is the question. And our teacher, Zen Master Thích Nhất Hạnh, he said, to be or not to be, that is not the question. Because the reality is interbeing. Everything is interrelated, it's in one another. Even if you have a cough, you have to ask about the family history, about the social history, right? Because if you have an infection, it has come from somewhere. You could not have produced the virus or the bacteria, right, or the fungus by yourself. So we're always related to others, even though we have this notion of a fixed, permanent, separate self. But everything is inter-is. So we have this interbeing, which I call interbeing, because then there's actually an interbeing, this yin-yang being. Yeah? So I hope you hold this image dear in your heart. So when you have thoughts that, such as you are separate from the rest, you are different from the rest, then you simply smile to it. It's a contemplation, it's a concentration. It helps you to it's like a mirror you hold up and you can see your thoughts and feelings. When you feel utterly alone, separated, you breathe and smile and remember, you are never separated and alone, and you are certainly not fixed. Things can change. The body is always is always changing. Everything is in constant flux. It is only our ideas that we hold on too dear, we rehearse, repeat so often that they are fixed because we will not allow them to be open to change. Everything else about us is in constant flux. So in that way, being aware of interbeing, contemplation on interbeing helps us to release our views, our rigid views, our dogmatic views, our righteous views, because we can have very good cause, noble cause, but we can also be very rigid and righteous. Even when we fight for the sustainability of the earth, it is truly a noble cause. But if we are caught in this constant struggle, this fight within ourselves and amongst each other, then we do not see the nature of interbeing, and we cannot be effective as a result. So we see the causes of this, of suffering. We make time. Meditation means to make time, to listen. Yeah? Meditation is compared to a bird with two wings. One wing is stopping, and the other wing is deep looking, stopping and deep looking. And the two wings have to go together in order for a bird to fly, and that bird is insight. That's wisdom, so that we can see a way out collectively. So stopping means stopping the mind from running, from fighting, from running away, from being frozen from within. Stopping, we learn to stop all that, and just to be truly present in the present moment, in our breath, in our body, in this moment as it is, not as we interpret it, not as we want it to be a certain way, or we don't want it to be a certain way, but just as it is, with equanimity, with calmness. That is stopping. We bring the mind back. And mindful breathing helps us that. When you practice mindful breathing, you simply recognize the in-breath as it is, the out-breath as it is. And I cannot emphasize enough how life-changing, mind-changing mindful breathing is. If you reflect upon it, you will see that the breathing reflects our states of mind. When you're angry, isn't it true that your breathing pattern is different than when you are peaceful, when you are calm? Yeah? When you're sad, your breathing pattern is different. When you're sick, your breathing pattern changes right away. And when we are dying in the moments, in the last moments of our life, the breathing pattern will also reflect that. A doctor, a nurse will be able to see that, this person will only have a few more minutes. Within an hour, the person will pass away just by listening to the breathing pattern. So we even have a Chinese character for breath. And the upper character, this is from or itself. And the lower character, that is mind, heart. The breath is from the mind, from the heart. The breath is the mind, the heart itself. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah. So just check in with your breathing pattern, with your breathing. Anytime throughout the day, when you're walking across campus, when you're sitting in the noisy dining hall, yeah, when you're waiting for somebody, practice non-waiting. Simply put aside your electronics I see that we are so preoccupied. This is also a mechanism of denial, of flight and freeze, when we are always looking at the screen, always checking email or checking social media, all that is a way to escape our life, our difficulty. We just check out all the time. We are in such a vantage position. We are highly educated, very important positions in the institution, in society. We have great ideals and aspirations. And yet, moment to moment in our daily life, we may not realize that potential. We just simply retreat, escape. And young people are trained to escape at a very early age. A 1-year-old, you give a 1-year-old an iPad, and that is the best way to train that child to escape that moment and for the rest of their life. I've seen children staring at the screen for hours and never even look around. That is a different wiring of the brain. So please, when you get a moment, to just come back to your breath as it is. Befriend it. Get to know it. What it's like. And then you will get to know your mind, because breath is from mind. Breath is mind itself. You will know, oh, in this moment, I don't feel well. I feel anxious. I feel overwhelmed. I feel angry. You listen to the message from your body, from your gut, from your lungs, from your heart. They tell you everything about what's going on. They are genuine, they are correct feedback of what's going on in us. So just come back and check in. We'll listen to one sound of the bell. Breathe and smile, and just simply recognize what is present right now in our breathing pattern, what is like, short or long, heavy or light, quiet or loud, laborious. Just be aware of the breathing pattern of the breath as it is. When I was a first year medical student at UCSF, School of Medicine, I had a professor. She was an oncologist. And I think it was an ethics class. She shared the story about her professor when she was a medical student. And her professor received a Nobel Prize in medicine. And in his speech, he shared that over the last 50 years, I have become a great scientist, but I have not become a better person. And that really moved her and shaped the way she studied medicine and practiced medicine. And when she shared that story to our class, it also moved me a lot. And that sharing continues to influence me to this day. We have noble cause. We have great aspirations. But if we don't see the interbeing nature of our individual life and the collective life, the collective karma, the collective consciousness, then we are not really bringing positive change or long-lasting change. Because in the individual, there is the collective. In the collective, there is the individual. So we need to learn, we need to practice to be a better person for our own sake, for the sake of our family, small community. That's very important. Now, we as monks and nuns, we meet every week, many times a week. We will have meeting amongst the sisters, the fully ordained sisters, amongst the fully ordained brothers, and then between the Dharma teachers, the elders in the community, within our own hamlet, and then together. So every week we have at least 1 or 2 meetings. And we are ordained as monks and nuns. We have very similar aspirations. We want to transform our suffering, and we also want to help society. We have a lot of commonality. And yet in meetings, we can also be so disagreeable. I went to see this chiropractor, and he's very spiritual. He is a great spiritual teacher. And he said to me, Sister D, you have suppressed anger. And I thought, how can I have suppressed anger? I'm a nun. I'm a practitioner. Don't say that, you know. So I said, I don't have suppressed anger. What are you talking about? And the next session, like a month or 2 later, again he said, Sister D, you have suppressed anger. And I said to him, how do you know? How can you tell? And he said, well, when we have anger, our body automatically assumes a defense posture, ready to fight, to flight, or to freeze. So it holds, and then actually it causes the body to be out of alignment. Like your shoulder, one side is higher than the other, your hip, one side is higher, you know, and it actually, literally, the body is out of alignment. And we have muscle tension, so the body speaks, even though seriously, honestly, I didn't think I had suppressed anger. But I took that to heart and I watched myself. And surely enough, I have suppressed anger. So in meetings, somebody will propose an idea, or I propose an idea. Very noble. Okay, let's have more retreats so that lay friends can benefit from. Let's have more days of practice. Some other sisters will say, no, the community needs to rest. The community needs to consolidate, to have more time together. We shouldn't do too much outreach. And I can hear myself. Okay, so I really hear my breathing. And I try to keep a smile. After all, I'm a nun for 24 years. So at least most of the time I don't have lines on my forehead. I don't have this like frown like this. I keep a smile, but I know my breathing is much shorter than usual. And I can feel it at the throat, and I feel it's hot in my chest. And sometimes I just want to walk out of the room. I really do. Sometimes I want to escape the meeting. So I'm not feeling well. So I can't go to the meeting. So those thoughts do arise, and I do act on them. Sometimes not too often, because I also learn to sit in a meeting and just breathe. Our teacher taught that harmony does not mean that we have to be agreeable with each other. Harmony doesn't mean everybody agrees on the same thing. It's not like that. Harmony only means that we respect each other enough to sit there and practice deep listening to each other. Just listen to the breath, moderate it. If you listen to it for a while, it will become more calm, more quiet. And because the mind has an anchor, that is the breath, the body, the mind also calms down. That is the best thing I've learned. When I know I'm very upset, I'm so impatient and frustrated, I shouldn't say anything. Sometimes I still say, and inevitably it's always a failure. Because when I speak out frustration or anger, others sense it. And even if they know I am correct, they still fight against me. Because all of us, every single one of us, we have an ego. We don't want to be proven wrong. We don't want to be, pointed out that we're this and that, so they will be defensive. They will get into one of these coping mechanisms automatically. And so then we cannot communicate with each other. And this is true as partners in a personal relationship, as faculty members, students, as nations. When we resort to one of these coping mechanisms, it's inevitably a failure. We cannot go forward, you see? So if we can practice to listen to our breathing more and more often throughout the day, we actually have harmony from within. From within. I always remind myself, I cherish, respect my community. I will do everything to support my community. But ultimately, I still want to be a better person, first and foremost. And for me to be a better person, that is actually a positive contribution to the community. Not my great ideas, not my passion, not my talents, but it's actually just taming the anger from within, the frustration from within, the self-righteousness from within that will save me. That if I were to die in the midst of the day, today, I can say, it's okay. I have done my best to take care of my suffering, to be at peace, to be able to just be still, sit there and breathe with my own suffering. I have done that. I am doing that. And I have also practiced to be there for my sisters and brothers and for many friends who come to us. Even when I have a lot of suffering or pain in my body, I can sit there, breathe, and be present and listen to them. Show them my respect. Show them my concern. I have done my best. And if I can say that to myself, then I am at peace. And I can die in the midst of the day, anytime. And I would be at peace with myself. I think that's very important that we remember that any one of us can die anytime. We don't know when, but it certainly is coming. So to be a better person, not a great scientist only, not a great professor, not a great peace activist or environmentalist, but a better person to ourselves and to those around us. Because in the collective, there is the individual, and in the individual, there is the collective. Our consciousness, there's individual, but there's also the collective. And our karma means actions, actions of thoughts, of speech, and of body. These are the three actions we call karma. They are interwoven. They fractal. They base upon each other, and they branch out, but they carry each other. The intricate interconnection of our individual and collective consciousness and karma on one another. So when we look at the great problem of the world, it seems so overwhelming. It seems that we become paralyzed. We feel hopeless. We feel the despair. But if we remember, we fractal inside the society. Our peace will be fractal and will become a part of the collective peace. Our awareness, our awakening will affect others around us, and it has this ripple effect. Then that is something more manageable, right? More doable. I think those of us who love Mother Earth and who wants to make a difference, how do we realize it in our daily life? We just had a retreat in New Hampshire, climate action. That's the theme of the retreat. We also had a symposium at Harvard right before the retreat we had, before we came here to Dartmouth. And to be honest, when I went to the restroom, I saw many of these friends. The way they turn on the faucet, wow, water just runs copiously. You know, the way they use the paper towel to dry their hands, 3 sheets, 4 sheets, 5 sheets, I couldn't believe it. The way we walk, eyes glued to the screen, I don't see love. I don't see the expression of care. It's like you have a child and you say you love the child. Wouldn't you take care of the child moment to moment? You have to, right? To feed the child, to dress, to change, to moment to moment you take care. Can we care for Mother Earth moment to moment, just to be aware of Mother Earth? When we walk, we practice walking meditation. We are in touch with Mother Earth. At the symposium, they said we spend 95% of the time of the day indoor. How can we work for Mother Earth, protect Mother Earth, if we are so removed from her? We don't feel any personal connection. Now, the people in previous generations, they didn't call themselves climate activists. But the people, our grandparents, great-grandparents, they loved the earth. Many of them lived and died for the land. That was that intimate connection, intimate refuge, taking refuge, intimate love, dependence on the earth. To this day, I grew up in Vietnam. I came here when I was 17 years old. My grandmother wasn't an environmentalist per se, but many people around me, we conserved. Maybe because we were poor, but we also cherished Mother Earth. And it's like we think of the earth as a great being, yeah, and we appreciate everything we receive from the earth. So we learn to conserve, and we live a very humble life. We didn't use plastic much. We would use banana leaves to wrap the food and all like that. So that was instilled in me. So today, when I wear this robe, it was given to me in 2003. My aunt had it made and then brought it from Vietnam to France. That's where our root monastery is in France, Plum Village, 2003. And so it's 21 years old. And I wear this robe pretty much every single morning when I go to sitting meditation at the monastery. It's pretty thick, so in the morning it's cold, I wear this. I wear this to most of the Dharma talks that I offer, like the one today. Most of them for almost 20 years since I began to offer talks, So I keep this robe even though it's very faded compared to the inside. The outside is very faded. I even had the pair of pants turned inside out because it was so faded. It's not because I think, I'm an environmentalist, I conserve anything. I feel this robe is my best friend. It has been there with me since when I was only 3 years old as a nun. I had gone through many trials and tribulations, looking at my suffering, working through, transforming, healing, slowly, this robe has witnessed that. And so there is this intimate relationship that I have with this robe. And if I were to have another robe, that's easy. But nobody would want this robe first and foremost. But no other robe will carry this much of weight. Does it make sense? So when we love something, when we love somebody, and we put our efforts to take care of that person, of the earth, it will be more genuine. It will be more sustainable. Because we do it from a place deep within, not from a righteous notion or a lofty notion that we protect something, but we don't have an intimate relationship with it. That's what I'm trying to say. So feel your connection with Mother Earth more often. Be outdoor more. And when you walk out there, just be aware. Yesterday we had a walking meditation with the students, and at the end, I asked them what did they feel. And one student said she heard so many different sounds. And one said, wow, the church bell is so beautiful. And one even said she felt she stepped on the grass for the first time while she's been here. And I said, literally? She said, well, both literally and figuratively. For the first time, she stepped on the grass. I mean, if we only live in our head and we are disembodied, this mind is a great mind, but it's also a great distraction. And we feel so disconnected with our own body, so disconnected with each other, so disconnected with the earth, then our cause is a lost cause. Okay. Let us listen to Asam the bell. Oh, it's already 5:30. So please be kind to give me a few more minutes. So we go through the second noble truth, which are the causes of the suffering. The third one is what we call as the cessation. The Buddha said cessation of suffering. And the fourth one is that the Eightfold Noble Path, or the way out. Okay. In medicine, we would call this the prognosis. The third one, prognosis. How likely will you be able to be healed, to cure the illness, the suffering? The Buddha is very optimistic. He said that suffering can be completely removed. And when we talk about here, suffering here is any kind of suffering. A mental illness, a physical illness as an individual, but also the planetary suffering. Mother Earth is because we are. There's climate crisis, that's because we are. The way we live our life, the way we think, we are separate individuals. Our egocentric ideas, our nationalistic ideas, notions, of the way we have wrong perceptions about ourselves and the world. And so that leads to the greed, the overconsumption, the mindless consumption. Each one is for herself, for themselves. It brings about the suffering in the world. See? But the Buddha said suffering can be completely removed. So this is an attitude, a perception. The way we look at things will determine how we deal with the suffering, how we look at the suffering. See? And I would invite you to learn more about the Eightfold Noble Path, right view, right thinking, right mindfulness, right concentration, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right diligence. This Eightfold Noble Path that add up with the Four Noble Truths, that's the Buddhist 12th step. To all addiction, including addiction to suffering itself, addiction to anger. Some of us, we get a high on depression. Some of us, we had a high on depression. Some of us, we had a high on self-righteousness. That's addiction to suffering. Some of us cling on to the trauma in our life, and we won't let it go. We won't move on in our life because we think that's ours. Nobody can understand it. Okay? So the way out is to train. It starts with right mindfulness, to be aware of our breath, of our body, and thus gradually we become aware, more aware of the subtle thoughts, views, notions, and attitudes that we have. And breathe and smile and relax them the same way that we breathe, smile, and relax the tensions in our body. Body is in mind, mind is in body. So right mindfulness will bring about right concentration. We focus more on the positivity, on the way out. We communicate more with each other. We share ideas. We share discoveries with each other. We respect each other enough to listen to each other. Maybe we won't find a way to reduce carbon by the CO2. We may not find a way out per se, but somebody else, another generation, with our ideas, our aspirations, they will build upon that. all of our innovations, all of our inventions in this generation did not come out of nowhere. They've been built up upon, right? From previous generations, from centuries before. They are in each other in that way. So we need to really communicate, to really share ideas and to be patient with each other so that we can work towards the common cause. We do that as a family, as a couple. We do that as a department or inter-departments. We, as nations, if we cooperate, if we have the right view of interbeing, we can find solutions. And in the end, really the right view is to be at peace with what is. Impermanence, the Buddha taught about moment-to-moment impermanence. Like moment-to-moment, there are skin cells that slough off, hair cells, that slough off. Everything in us, moment-to-moment impermanence. But there's also cyclic impermanence or periodic impermanence. Like the earth has gone through 5 extinctions and is going through the 6th one. This one is human caused. But even if it's not human caused, at some point it still goes through extinction. You see? So in our daily life, if we learn to be aware of the impermanence of our body, to be aware of impermanence is to cherish what we have right now. Our youth, our health, the presence of a friend, of a loved one. Because tomorrow, they may not be there anymore. We take good care of it. To be aware of impermanence is to cherish and take good care of ourselves and of each other. To be aware of the impermanent nature of Mother Earth is to cherish her, to be with her, to celebrate, to take care, even just take one less sheet of paper. Reuse. Use the other side when you print. This morning, I got a smoothie, and literally I thought to myself, should I get a straw or should I not get a straw? And then I got one, but then in the end I drank and then I returned the straw. I think of that really throughout the day. Sometimes I wash my hands. Most of the time, actually, I just do like this and let it air dry and not use the paper towel. Moment to moment, if we cherish our body, our life, we cherish each other, we show that care for Mother Earth, then really we know that we are doing our best. And we do it from a place of abundance, of love, of care, and not from a place of frustration or anger or righteousness or despair. It is sustainable when we can do from a place that we have more than enough. And we care and we know that something is impermanent. And we can be at peace with that impermanence. And it's a daily practice, it's a moment-to-moment practice. So dear ones, thank you so much for being here. I surely hope you have a chance to learn more about our practices, our mindful practices. We still have 2 days here, but our teachers has more than 100 books. Our brothers and sisters offer teachings. We have retreats at our home monasteries, 3 monasteries in the US. So please make the time to come and practice with us. But in your daily life, if you just practice breathing with the ring of your telephone, try that. Already you will feel a difference. Thank you so much. Let us enjoy 3 sounds of the bell together. We know that this composition of us here, in 2 minutes, it will never be repeated. We will never be the same in this room again. Long live to impermanence. This can be eternal, can be a very special experience, right? Thank you. After this, we'll have walking meditation. So if you have time to join us, please meet us outside. Any more announcement? That's it? Okay. When you stand up, just see if you can be aware that you are standing up. Okay? Okay. Thank you. And as you turn to walk, just be aware of the steps. Continue to smile and check in with your breath.